and if you can't make it manifest, somebody who else will get the idea that'll figure it out.
Mm.
And that's why you need a patent office, because people don't always patent their ideas, and then they look up somebody else got a patent on it.
Yeah.
So you got 5 coming in at the same time. They call that popping the quiff. But the first patent filed was the one who opened up the door.
For it to come through. Yeah.
So that's how you get the astral impression of the 3D to manifest in the 3D using the agency of man and mind.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I hear you.
So they're saying that the spirit in the 3D used people to bring stuff into the 3D that was developed in the 5D. Now we going in the 5D consciousness in the 3D realm. We still gonna be in the 3D realm, but we're gonna have 5th dimensional consciousness, which is like having your personal tutor. Once you understand how to read your higher self, then you purify the ego, which allows you to know your highest good can be expressed easiest than your worst wickedness.
Okay. I hear that. I hear that. Yeah. I appreciate it. So, you said YouTube and look up self-talk and then do the breathing methods that singers do. And
Yeah,
that'll help me out.
yeah. And don't forget the CRV control remote UN manual.
So, I hope you gonna say this live, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it.
Okay, because I don't got no pens. You said CRV, something.
Play it back and get it out.
Yeah. All right. I think that's everything. Yeah.
Sweetie, I'm gonna let you go and bring somebody else up, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for stopping by to see me.
Absolutely.
Come on, little goddess. Let's talk about what the loyal goddess is talking about. What we all want to know. Well, hello there.
Hey, Mr. Hayes. I don't know how to take this thing off from. Anywho, I'm just gonna go. So, I've been following you for a while. I'm surprised to see you on live again. You don't really hardly be on here no more, or I don't be on here no more. I don't know.
I'm on my SikApe page, and I've been in Instagram jail over there for a while now, and they won't let me on, so I came over here to do the Q&A off the Facebook video I did last night.
Okay. I'm not on Facebook, so I've been going through. Maybe you could just I want to know more. I know you're very, intelligent in this part. On August 5th, I had a child that left. My 17-year-old. It was due to the police. And I know about life. I know we're guaranteed to live, to not be here. 10 years ago, my brother, transitioned also. I just, not so much closer, but I want to know how. I really don't know what I want to ask you, but I just want your guidance, I suppose.
Dealing with
I speak to him through readings. I do read cards. I speak to him through readings. At first, he was really, the first week or so, he was really, distraught and he didn't know what was going on. So I had to guide him. So he's doing better now. He's talking to me. He's throwing out, better cards and kind of guiding me. But I'm really kind of lost right now. I need put myself back up.
Okay, the first thing you need to know before you know anything else is you grieve according to your own time. Can't nobody tell you to get past it or get over it or none of that just because you grieve, how long or how hard you grieve. But allow yourself the opportunity to grieve, even if you have to go into solitude in order to gain your senses back. Okay?
Hmm.
That's the first thing you need to know. The second thing you need to know is this. You need to do spiritual baths during the time of difficulty to allow you to relax the stress on the spirit so you will be stronger to endure the process of the grief. The prescription for the spiritual bath is hot as you can stand it and put you about a cup and a half of Epsom salt in there, and you can pick your own essential oil according to how what the power is to the oil or what the character of the oil does. And then you take you a cup of alcohol, but you do not put the alcohol in the bath water until you submerge, because that's going to wash your aura,
Okay.
right? It's going to also make your connection to your ancestors on the other side
Okay.
clearer. And your son is in the ancestral realm, and you will be able to have ancestors counsel him, because when we recently cross over, it's the same trauma that we feeling or grief we feeling, they feeling grief too. And they need the ancestors that's already over there to assist them. But if he don't know how to ask for the help, they don't volunteer. And you can teach him how to ask for the help. Once you clarify your connection to the realm, you can ask them as his mother, you can ask the ancestors that's there to aid him in his transition. And you will find that when they start to answer your call to aid him, your grief in the 3D realm will start to subside faster. And once you feel that the ancestor that you needed him to connect with the most connect, it's going to be an acceptance that comes with that in the cycles of grief that's going to allow you to breathe.
Okay.
So that brings us to what I just told the sister before you about the science of breath. Breathe like a singer. Because when you grieve and you breathe shallow,
Yeah. I
and it
caught my.
makes the grief last longer because you can't get full breath, which is
Yeah.
getting full. The spirit is breath.
Yeah. I do that because when I'm crying, it's like, it goes like that. And it's
Yeah.
like breathing through the mouth. And I know breathing through the mouth is not good. You got to breathe in through your nose and let it go out through your mouth. So you know, I've been practicing, the breathing also too, but I do catch myself when I'm like hysterically crying that it's like, you know, I guess trying to catch my breath type thing.
Help most because it'll relax the body enough for you to catch your
You
breath.
said what now?
That's when those baths work the best, because it'll allow the body to relax.
Okay.
Will allow you to catch your breath during the episode.
Okay.
But remember, every time you go through a physical breakdown, you're making a spiritual breakthrough. If you don't know that, it'll make the grief harsher and longer.
Okay.
But when you know it, you can monitor your success in overcoming the process of grief.
Okay. Kind of like flip the energy around. No?
You don't have, all you got to do is it comes with when you get to the phase of acceptance. That's when you start to and it's going to change you on a spiritual level and make you more useful to other people. once you get done going through your process.
Okay.
But you have to go through your own process because this is the greatest catalyst to growth is great loss. And
Yeah.
that's why you go through the period of grief. It's the
Yeah.
phoenix consuming itself in the fire to become ashes. And then it rises from its own ashes in order to be the greatest phoenix it had ever been. And it do that every time it falls in its own ashes is greater than it was before.
Okay. I do grow a lot of herbs. I have like rue and rosemary. I could use those and parsley and all that. I could use those for my bath instead of essential oils, right?
You absolutely can. There's a book on Amazon you can get called, I think it's called 105 Spiritual Baths,
Uh-huh.
but it tells you many different types of spiritual baths you can do so you're not just stuck to one. But the basic root ingredient is the hot water and the Epsom salt and the alcohol only after you been submerged.
Okay, so something like rum, would
Um,
that be
you
best?
can use
Rum?
You could use rum. Depend on your spiritual practice because a lot of the women from the Louisiana area, they use the rum, they use white lightning, what's moonshine,
Uh-huh.
and they use uh, um, Johnny Walker Red, Johnny Walker Black, Old Granddad. So depending on your preference, those alcohols are acceptable. But they to wash the alcohol itself is to wash the aura.
Okay. Okay. So do that after after I submerge in the bath, I'll go ahead and put that in. As I'm submerging in the bath,
You know,
I use that
once
alcohol.
you under the submerged, the majority of your body submerged, then you pour the alcohol in.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, my grandmother, she's also gone, but she used to like that Johnny Walker. So I could either use that or the rum.
Hmm.
Yeah.
If you use that kind of alcohol, you can use a single shot from a shot glass
If I use the
or
Johnny
as many
Walker.
shots as necessary. Yep. When you use that, you measure with the shot glass.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you can use one shot glass up to like 10, depending on how much energy you think that you need to cleanse what you're going through. You will feel it. And the more you use spiritual baths, it's like learning a new skill. You will know what you need in order to help you recover from whatever you're going through.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask you if you could help me in any way like this. I mean, I'm pretty okay with, with death and whatnot, but it's like being your own child, it hits a little different. I know that we all born here to leave, and I know the pain or whatnot, but I'm not gonna take too much of your time. I just, you know,
One
like I said, I'm gonna do the
more thing,
spiritual bath. And you said what?
your son, your son, if he's coming back anytime soon, he's going to tell you who he's coming back through as their child. So when he come, he would want you to be there to greet him. If I tell you ahead of time, you'll pay attention to the signs he give you,
As far as him
and
coming
it'll
back,
yeah. Because
he will be
sometimes
able to tell me. He'll
traumatically like that, they turn around and come right back.
Okay. Let me ask you this, because one of my other children, he's a male. Um, he's expecting. Well, the girl is expecting, and the first thing too, like I noticed, I'm like, well, is this Thailand already coming back, or does it take longer for that?
When you first asked that question, why
He's,
did you ask it? What was your intuition telling you that made you ask yourself that question?
well,
You
I just,
had a feeling.
I felt, I kind of felt that, like, when that happened, when the same day that happened, it was like a light bulb. It was like, fuck, that's probably Thailand coming back. That's the baby that's coming in is probably Thailand. Not,
Is that brother his favorite brother?
huh?
Is the brother that's having the baby his favorite brother? Because we always come back to our favorite, the one we love the most.
No, it's actually they actually bump heads a lot. To tell you the truth,
That's, that's also part of the love relationship that they have.
Yeah, yeah. He actually always was like, he always used to. He's old. The one that's having the baby, he's actually older than him, but it seemed like Talon, the one that that's no longer with the transition, he was more mature than him, and and um and what was I say? I lost my train of thought, but yeah, it just seemed, I don't know. That's what came. That's what came like that same day. It was just like, and I never, it was just like that same day. I was like, wow. I said, that must be the baby. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna give you a little
You
that'll
keep
help you
breaking.
understand the. Can you hear me?
I could hear you now, but keep kind of like going off and on. But go ahead.
So, in your bloodstream, your certain cells are still there from the
Hmm.
gestation period. They with you through your
Okay.
whole life.
Okay.
And when your cells are in distress, your children's cells come to the aid,
Okay.
right? You have a heart link connection with him that came from him being in your uterus.
Right.
So now that's two connections. He's in your blood and he's in your heart.
Okay.
You also have a telepathic mental connection because it's easy for you to see his face when you close your eyes.
Yes. Every day, every single minute, more now than ever.
That's the visual connection, which is the mental link.
Hmm.
Have a three-link connection to always communicate with any one of your children. Is once you know that, you will know if he's coming back, just like when you suddenly realize, oh, I'm pregnant. You will suddenly realize that, oh, my son just came back.
Mm.
It's the same frequency because it's the same connection that you had when you brought him into the world, that he's coming back.
Okay.
We always come back. Trauma normally makes us come back faster because normally the trauma, like sudden deaths, are interrupting our path and we got work to finish. So we come back to continue the process of breaking that generational curse that we came to work on, which may be the primary and root cause of the trauma.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna come back and get it right because my favorite brother gonna make sure because he know how I move.
Hmm.
So if he what he teach me with what I already am, I can't miss this time. My confidence is in my brother who shared the same womb as my
Hmm.
mother as I did.
Hmm.
So now when I come back, he already know my
Hmm.
temperament and my mom grandmama me
Hmm.
and spoiled me. So now I'm getting the double juicy benefit from the turnaround come right back. Because
Hmm.
mama know, even though I'm her grandbaby this time, that I'm still her baby. It's going to be instinctual because of the connection that you have to your child. You can follow them through lifetime. My mama talk to me all the time like I'm
Yeah.
talking to you, but I can't tell people that. They think you crazy.
Yeah.
But she be on the other side. She be coaching me.
Yeah.
Now, baby, don't say nothing. Just listen.
Hmm.
Okay, time to talk.
Yeah. So
Quiet to yesterday because she told me, okay, now it's time to talk. Tell them to wrap this shit up. It's time to bring it on home now, right? Right? And the mission is to help as many people as I possibly can. I could have helped more if they didn't think I was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. So you
But
saying crying and that's kind of that it, me being hurt as I am and just keep letting it, you know, I don't try to let it bring me down. I try to keep up there. I feel like me crying or being so hurt about it will kind of like hold him down. No, maybe it will hold like will delay his. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like me, you know,
you have
no, it's
grief is yours.
okay.
He got his own grief from crossing over suddenly.
Okay.
Now you have to, when you go through the process of resolving your grief,
Hmm.
the break is the breakthrough at the layers of the grief.
Okay.
So when you letting the grief out and you let the tears flow and you can get in that hot water and relax and allow yourself to breathe, you cycle the energy better,
Okay.
which allows you to recover from the grief faster, which allows him on the other side to have your spiritual guidance as if he was here with you, but he over there needing your guidance from a different direction.
Okay.
You telepathically to him.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah, I have front of his.
yeah, once you control your faculties, you go from the grief and you start going through the process and you start doing what you got to do. That's called putting in spiritual work.
Okay.
Now, if you a sister that's a death doula, grief doula, Phoenix Rising, my chief of staff, if you need some help, she can either counsel you or she can refer you to one of her students that's also a grief counselor.
Okay. Another.
But what I gave you is the basics. That's the bare minimum that you can do to get through what you're going through.
Okay. Give thanks. Give.
But the most important thing is only you can say how far along you are in your grief. Can't nobody outside you tell you because they can't feel what you're going through. Only you can feel it. That's your conversation with God.
Right. And is it too early to have altar? Because I really don't have. I have an altar for him. I've been having it. You know. I didn't do it right away. I probably did it like a week afterwards. Is it too early for his altar, or do I keep it up, or
You set his altar up when you feel like it. Can't nobody. That's the same as with your grief. Can't nobody tell you.
okay,
In China, when somebody died and they are Buddhists, they put their picture up the same day, so they cremate the body and everybody uses pictures to photo shrine. So you have that's how you feel. Can't nobody tell you. That's the key to breaking through spiritually is when it comes to spiritual matters, your perception and how you feel is the overriding determining factor in how you practice your spiritual development.
okay, yeah, he got
That's using your will and maintaining your self-control and your control over self. And that keeps other outside entities from stepping on your toes
okay,
and slowing you
okay. All right, Mr. Hayes. Yeah, at his altar, and we did get him cremated, and I have, I'm sitting right in front of it right now. So I was like, I seen you, and I was like, okay, let me ask you. I usually don't ever join lives or your live, but I knew you had the answer for me.
down. Glad I was able to help you, sweetie.
Give thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
How do I allow this?
Show me how them thunder the cats under that coming through
Going
they
on,
hollow.
Chief?
What's
What's
going
poppin',
on?
man? It's my second time I'm chopping up with you. I can call you
That's
a real. I can call you a real reflection, man. You my elder, but you still a reflection of me, man. Every time I hear you, you know how that goes. Like
mm-hmm.
hearing you talk, you know what I mean? Hearing you talk is
For
like
sure.
crazy, huh?
Yeah. So what you got on your mind
Um,
today?
you said something key today. Hold on, let me. Hold on. You said something key just to the young lady here, and that was about how to spiritually transition, like using the override. You said something key, overriding things, and that's what I'm on right now, the manifestation. Whatever's going on, like I got some situation going on, but as a master of how I master my mind, I'm demonstrating, and that's why I'm in the position I'm in now, because I came back just to do what I'm doing. And I'm demonstrating to my people, right, not to let the outside convolute your vision, your trajectory, like how you perceive things and how you feel about it. That's what really override things. And when you say that, I'm like, God damn, Rod always on, and you always on beat. But that's what I do to override any situation, whatever it looks like. And as God, here's my little son, he tweaking right now. Sure. So everything I do, we know how to override it.
Kick us out.
Huh?
We got about 20 seconds for Instagram. Kick us out.
Oh, okay. No, I was just I was just pointing that out to you, man, and just hopping on. I got my little son here, but yeah, the overriding things, whatever's going on in our life, um, I was touching on that with you, and you said it. So as I'm going on with my situation,
And welcome back to Office Hours with Dr. G. Welcome to all of you who are in the chat. Make sure that you are sharing the fact that Chief Pontiac is in the house. He's in the office. He's going to give us just what the doctor ordered. How about that? It's so good to have you. It's so good to have you here, Chief. It's so good to have you here. And
It's always
listen,
good to be here, Dr. G.
I know we have a ball though when we talk, when we have our conversations. Where do you find the link for part two? Part two's link is if you go back to the description of this particular show. Like if you're on YouTube,
YouTube.
there's a description. It's telling you what the show is going to be about. There's a link and it tells you this is the link to the show. You click on that. What we're going to do is give you a break. What we're going to do is we're going to talk for about 45 minutes, maybe. Well, actually, Chief's going to talk for about 45 minutes. We're going to share. And then about 20 after 8, we're going to log off of this and we want you to click the link and join us. It's going to look the same, but we want you to join us and we're going to be in what we call unfiltered. And what that means is it's not going to be on Facebook. It's not going to be on YouTube. You're not even going to be able to get back to it tomorrow. When it's over, you're not going to be able to see it. So you want to tell everybody you know that we're doing a 2-parter. You don't have to register. It's just that it's unfiltered. And we want to make sure that you just can't get back to it and throw it up on YouTube or something. We don't want it on YouTube because we want to be able to speak freely. And it's sad. It's sad that we're at a place where we can't. Free speech is not free, and you have you run the risk of jeopardizing your channel, your platform when you tell the truth. But we found a way. We got to work around. So with that said, Chief, again, welcome to Office Hours. Welcome back to Office Hours. I feel like when you have this is Dr. G's Office Hours, and I feel like when you come on, it's like I had to get a specialist to come. You know what I mean? A doctor specialist to come in the office and give us the 411 of what's really, really going on. Because I didn't learn that stuff when I was in in the doctorate school. So I appreciate the time that you took and that Big Mama took to put you in a place where you could have some real serious download time and you erudited yourself. You were able to get that erudite scholarship and that knowledge. And it's very rare that I've ever seen you on anybody's platform that a question has been posed to you that you can't respond to and answer. And what I love about you also is that when you can't, you say that. You don't try to find something and give somebody a whole bunch of gobbledygook and some stuff to make it sound good. But I've heard you literally say from time to time that you're not familiar with that. I thought I had myself. Yeah, I thought you don't say that, but what you do know, you come right off the cuff with it, and I know, and I feel, and I think a lot of people will agree with me. That knowledge and that wisdom that you have garnered over those in the belly of the beast was not for naught, and it's been for our benefit. With that, like I said, welcome back to the show. Do you have anything in particular that's on your heart or in your mind? Because every day I know information and so forth is being transmitted to you. So I don't know whether there's anything before I get into asking you stuff. What's going on? Because it's a lot going on, but I want your take on it. Just to start off now.
Well, look, it's funny you said that because I'm in my sense of humor mode, right?
Okay.
And somebody posted on Facebook today. It popped up in my timeline and say, "This is the 3rd of September. You ain't black if you don't know what that is." It was
that
the
day I
3rd.
always remember. That was the
It was
day.
the day that my daddy died. So the emphasis on the 3rd of September being the day that my daddy died is talking about patriarchy.
Ah.
Patriarchy.
Okay.
The revelation of truth is what killed the father, who was a bootleg preacher.
Okay.
I mean, that he was making it up as he go, teaching what he think can get him some money. I ain't in here for no money. And I work for the matriarchy.
That's right, you do.
So if I ain't here for money and I work for the matriarchy, then the patriarchy got to fall.
That's right.
Right? So in working for the matriarchy, a lot of the up and coming developing men think that the death of patriarchy mean that all of their power took. They don't understand the matriarchy. The matriarchy is not about taking the men out of positions of power and just putting a woman there. They might be the most qualified for that position. You're going to leave them there under the matriarchy. The matriarchy's rules are a lot simpler and comprehensive for the regular people than the patriarchal admiralty rules. Right? And the matriarchy is live your best life, be your best self to experience heaven on earth. The patriarchy is dog eat dog, step on your brother to get what you want. Right? It's two different ideologies as the root. Under the matriarchy, everybody in the tribes have a voice. And you send it up the chain of command. Under the patriarchy, the people that the patriarchy consider important, the only ones that matter, and everybody else's voice must only be apparently heard, meaning they give you the appearance that they hear you, but they do what they was going to do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So in the matriarchy, a 4-year-old can get legislation put on the vote. And under the patriarchy, if you're not a legislative writer, you can't get nothing put on the vote. The difference is the law is handled by a group of specialized women that know how to use source energy as the guiding light to make law according to the law of nature. So the first 2 questions that they ask before they consider if it's something that they should be contemplating making law about, they ask 2 questions. How does it affect the children? The reason I ask that question, because the effect on the children tells you what effect it has in the future. And then the second question is, how does it affect the earth? If it affects either one of them negatively, it's rejected. You can't, it won't even benefit one if it don't benefit the other. Right? So this is the difference in the patriarchal dictators masquerading as democratic government, having people believe they vote count when nothing they say count. They just want to know who can organize the vote so they know who to pay off or murder. And if you can get you a group of people that they feel you can control, then whatever you ask for, they gonna compensate you in one form or another. They normally give it to you in tax breaks and grants. That's what 50c3 status is for the church.
501c3, yeah.
It's a waiver of financial penalty in the form of tax if you do what we want you to do. They're not going to give you access to exemptions if you're not going to benefit their system. But if you can figure out how to operate within their system to benefit the most people, they want you, and they will do anything they can to appease you from mobilizing those people to reclaim what's rightfully theirs. So this is why they have us under the illusion of voters' rights. They already said we don't got no rights in their system. So now we believe we got rights in their system, and we fight over the rights that they never gonna give us. And the only time you get a benefit is when you can sabotage the most people on their behalf. The more people you can sabotage, the more comfortable they let you live. Oppression is atmospheric. There's two ways to the top. Rise up or suck up. It's only two ways to the top. And we got too many suck ups and not enough rise ups. Because when you rise up, you know what you're doing, or else you're not going to leave your seat. But when you suck up, you don't know what you're doing, because you don't understand why you can't get no power. All suction and ain't getting no power. Right? That's like a Hollywood prostitute. When she get old, she still was a prostitute and she got nothing to show for it, but probably a house and a car. Then she look back and she's miserable with how she lived her life. The whore of Babylon. Right? So they use the political stage show to steer the psychological grouping or sociology of the collective. If they can give you a compelling show, they have your attention. If they got your attention, you will follow them off the cliff.
Like
but
the
as
lemmings.
soon, yeah, and as soon as you take your attention back, they are offended at you because you're taking your power back.
Let's talk about power for a minute, or the lack thereof, or the appearance of, or the mindset of there being no power. Can you tell us when we went from knowing that we were that God, we were the gods, that God, the scripture, even if you go to the Bible, there's a scripture that says the greater one lives on the inside, and Yeshua was allegedly talking to the masses and saying, you got the greater one, you got him already on the inside of you. So we see that there. Yet what has been espoused and taught and assimilated has been powerlessness and looking to government, which we know allowing somebody else to take over control of one's mental faculties and to put thoughts and ideologies and so forth and to control. When did we go from knowing who we were, where we came from, to where we are now, being completely, in a, like the Twilight Zone, or brainwashed as if these things had never even been our story? What happened? What transpired? I guess I want to say.
Sociology is the study of groups and how groups operate, how they move. This tells you what their trigger mechanisms is. It can tell you how to turn them on each other. It can tell you how to execute your divide and conquer strategies. The ones with enough of the old ways will begin to remember pieces of it, and they will do things that gather the attention away from the stage show. They use the same strategy as an illusionist in Vegas, a David Copperfield trick. They tell you that you don't have any rights because they declare war on you. But then they told you, you're not them people that we talking about. We talk about these other people that we brought over here with us to replace you. But we ain't gonna tell you that part. Rod Hayes just gonna say the quiet part out loud so the people know how the game played. So they telling you from somewhere else, but your insides keep saying, just something ain't right with that story. You don't know what it is because so many people that look like you believe the same narrative. But some of us don't. The hard part is for the ones who don't to go find enough evidence to prove the case. We become then tribal investigators. And we trade the information by wind talking or code talking. The ghetto code, dash, tells us where we are. How much influence do we still have over our people versus the squatters that came? We always knew who we was, but most of us couldn't say it out loud without being penalized. The threat of death and punishment and torture made a lot of our people whisper it to only certain people in the family that they know can hold water. So they don't want us singing, call a plumber, it must be a leak in my drain, because everybody seemed to know about my good thing. Right? So the plumber just so happened to be another Klansman. When he get there, he gonna tell you why you got a leak in your drain, but shh, don't you tell nobody. So then they create comprehensive structures to slowly feed us back the information of who we are by telling us to watch how we operate. So then the government tricked the people into believing that the righteous, rightful heirs of the land is the criminals, because they came with the admiralty law and they denied us our right to enforce tribal law as a clan. Every tribal leader is responsible for keeping his clan under control, and he used members of the clan to do it. By using a strategy called villainization, they systematically take parts of our culture, create a word that means something negative, and then they call us by the negative term on a wide spectrum broadcast like the news. Before that, it was the newspaper, the movie reels, the news reels. They making movies to tell us that we marijuana smoking, white girl raping, and lunatics, the niggas, right? But then when it coming to find out, the ones who was smoking the herb was the kindest, peacefulest people. And then Paleface told us, because they had something called the flower generation, where they was learning all of this stuff from the tribal leaders. Many of them look like us, on why they using the herb, why they eating the mushroom, right? But at the same time, they trying to tell us the government lied, and here come out here hippie. Hippie is a tribal term from the people of the land describing something.
Really?
So the hippie generation is known as the flower child generation. It's the bridge between the baby boomers and Generation X. It's the flower child and free love generation. So how do you stop them from giving free love? You poison them with STDs. That's all chemical warfare, biological warfare.
So you're saying that the introduction of the STDs was something that was well, it was
It's
introduced.
biological warfare. First
And
you
we know
promote it, then you poison it. If it work, you poison it.
when you say once you promote it, when you mean promote the free love and then put something in to
Make it,
create.
yeah. So you make it mainstream, and then you poison it. Because now you have to try to stop the people from reproducing in time enough to catch the one that's going to figure out the problem. If too many babies is born, that's what they call scattering your shots. That's why it's more than one big mama on the land that got a baby boy that she sent out on a mission. We come from different tribes, but we all have a tribal responsibility as a tribal investigator to look at the problem. And when we don't know what the problem is, we tell the part we know, this is what I found out so far. And then we pass it to the next chief for him to look at it and do his investigation. And we use the music, the arts, and the entertainment because that is the root to the culture. You don't have a culture if you don't have that stuff. And I don't care which generation you look back on the last 100 years, if you start at ragtime and you come to hip hop, it's us. James Brown was a chief. Chuck Berry was a chief. Little Richard, Chief Screaming Hawk. Smokey Robinson, Hyoka High Chief. They putting codes in the music. The Temptations, Chiefs. They putting codes in the music. You got to know who writing this music. You got brothers is teaching others how to talk to us in the music. They called the music fixers in the 50s and 60s. They had to fix the music because the other people don't know the way we use music. So they can't promote the culture we give them until we show them how to fix the music. And the music is the...
I was going to say, can you take that all the way back to the so-called days of slavery when, you know, the songs that were being sung that were actually now they became incorporated into the spiritual as spiritual religious songs, but they were actually messages that were being broadcast or things that were being talked about that were not openly spoken of, for, you know, like even when we talk about so-called ETs and so forth, swing down chariot, stop and let me ride, you know, in the church, you know, is saying, you know, rock me, Lord, in the bosom of Abraham. But we know of chariots of fire, the chariots of the so-called gods. So were our ancestors connecting, or were they knew that there were sky people, and they were saying, come get me, look, take me out, whatever. They were sharecropping, and they were stuck in these situations that they wanted to be relieved from? Was that what was going on? Or
the earth tribes, no matter what part of the land they are going to look to the Americas for the next wave of cultural phenomenon. Biblically, they call us the salt of the earth because we are the progenitors of the music, of the art, of the acting, of the singing, of the dancing, right? We are the progenitors of that. So if you go back to Muhammad, and the hadith say Muhammad was having a celebration, and he put the celebration on hold to say, where's the ones with the duffs? That's the drum. If you look at Shaka Zulu, when he leaves the shaman getting the sword made, when he about to be promoted, he had a feast for him, and they played the bongos, the drums, right? If you go to Nelson Mandela and Stephen Biko in the apartheid era, they talking in the music. If you go to Frantz Fanon, he said, where are the days when the mothers sung the songs of liberation into the ears of the babes to stand up and oust the enemy? So it's always been our cultural development that influences music, but we always code music. You code it with the 808. That's the war drum. We are in a state of war. Hip hop is telling you that with the 808. So the 808 is the root chakra pound to get you active and moving in order to find out why you stuck in your lower self. Once you understand what the codes in the music, all of the notes is telling you a story, right? The A tone is the A minor. A minor is a certain pitch in the music, but it's a homonym for what them people doing wrong.
They not like us.
They not like us, right?
All right.
So then you go from your minors to your flats, your B's, your C's, your D's. Those are your grades that the frequency come in on, and the frequency is played out in the note. What is a note? It's a short letter.
Okay.
So the note is going to tell you what the pitch is. The pitcher is the sender. He's the one on the pitcher's mound about to try to strike somebody out. Once you know what the pitch is it a curveball? Is it a slider, a fastball, a slow ball? Right? What's the pitch? If you don't know what the catcher flipped as the code to the pitcher, then you won't never know what the pitch is. So now you have to know what the catcher is covering what? Home plate. That means the home base is being covered by the one who's flipping the code to the one at the pitcher's mound. Right? So the pitcher is determining the pitch based on the frequency that comes from home. Your home training. Mama, your first teacher. Your first nurse. Right? She's teaching you the art and science of loving home and family first. So when you become an adult as a chief, you say that whatever I do with myself, it's going to benefit home and family first, which takes us to a first family flip, which is a royal art degree. Because only from the royal house will you get the red, blue ark. And the ark is the covenant. And the covenant is the rainbow. And the rainbow is being perverted by the society in order to create an aversion to the rightful layer of the colors in the spectrum. Every note in music has a color assigned to the note.
Right.
So now you got colors, 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 colors. I'm a nightmare walking, psychopath talking, king of my jungle, just a gangster stalking. That's an Ice-T flip. And Ice-T is flipping from Long Island. The Strong Island, right? The Strong Island. The Strong Island is where Rakim from. The Black God, Code Flipper, High Chief, 5% Nation, right? They say I was locked in jail, so now I guess I'm out on bail. But the only island I was on was the strong one. And if I did a bit, it'd be a long one, right? So he's flipping the code back to the other island. So now we got an island knock off an island knock. So Belle Isle is in Detroit, right? And Detroit is where Chief Pontiac had to fight the French at River Rouge when they turned the water red. And the blood was up to the horse's bridle, which was the blood in the water, which takes us to Chicago and the Democratic National Convention. All this is just tying the music to the culture, to the politics.
Wow.
That's called a zigzag flip. Because in the DNC, they dyed the Chicago River red, which turned it from the Chicago River to the Rouge River. Because Chicago is supposed to be founded by a French named Dusable, Jean-Baptiste Dusable.
Okay.
But it wasn't, because before they changed the name to Chicago, it was an old tribal metropolis called Chata.
Wow.
So they want us to believe that this was an uninhabited land, but we have castles all over the land. They just turned them into prisons and state buildings in order to open your path.
And asylums.
Yep, mental hospitals.
Yeah.
So they telling you what they're gonna do with you. They're gonna either govern you with their politics, or they're gonna house you in your castle as a prison, or they're gonna drive you crazy trying to collect your birthright if you don't remember the old ways.
Wow. While you were talking about the colors and the notes and all that, it made me I jumped off for a minute because I wanted to go. You know, I guess one of the things I do is working with energy, and one of the things we have is when we're doing an energy assessment of someone, frequency wise, you could determine what color or colors are prominent in someone's life, whether the colors are negatively influencing them or positive, what frequencies, what note is pitched too high or what might be too low, and what's balanced. So we end up giving the client tones that balance what comes up in their assessment. But we also give them colors that would give them certain outcomes. So, these are a lot of the things that we don't get the benefit of. This is technology that's old and ancient, but withheld from the masses so that those, so-called, in the know elites can take the benefit of that. Because you might be looking at, purple, and purple might be setting you off, for instance. And you might be like, so what we end up doing, and I went and pulled my thing. What we end up doing is we have glasses, and so today I need to look at, if I need to look at things through, like, say, rose-colored glasses, I can put the color lens on that I need to balance. It might be my chakras might be off, or it may be some energetic issue with me. But a lot of times, I mean, even though, because we were going to talk in this part about some metaphysical stuff. So a lot of times, like I said, or it might say, in order for me to get what it is I need, I may need to have orange. I need to be focusing on orange. I can change my lenses and change my perspective and change the energy in my body. So a lot of times, the certain colors that they put on us and the tones that they put on us are affecting us, our body, our mental, even our physiology, colors and frequency. And I learned that, with what I've been doing with AOScan for a while, but this is something that's ancient and old that our people knew. I'm pretty sure there were certain tones or certain colors and so forth that they knew to stay away from, or they knew to maybe embrace at a certain time. And it can change. It may be you need the purple today, but tomorrow you need to be looking at yellow or green. And it's kind of hard to do that, because this kind of knowledge, where it may have been widespread back in our earlier ancient days, they took all that away from us.
Yeah, like biorhythms.
Yeah.
Your biorhythms can be electronically read because they have machines calibrated to your biorhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And each one of your biorhythms is assigned a color. The same with moods, right? Remember the mood ring? When your mood change, the color change, right? Because they all have a energy signature. Some stones, like the one they make the real moon rings out of, not these fake ones that they use paper that's designed to do what the stone do, but the real stone, people would carry them around to monitor their own mood so that they can try to maintain a certain frequency.
Right.
And then they turned them into a novelty, exploiting our culture because we naturally drawn to things that's from our old cultures. They find ways to give us a mimic, an artificial replica of it, and then our genetic memory will be drawn to it. It's the same with the Bible. That's why the Bible is rewritten and scrambled up to confuse us, because the genetic memory remembers the holy drama. Everybody that's earthborn, the story of Osiris and Isis has a different story around the world, but it's the same story. It's called the holy drama.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's the story of the father falling to the uncle and the son of the father coming back to take the rulership back from the uncle.
Okay.
Right? In Sumeria, it's the story of Ninigazita, Enki, and Enlil. Right? Over here, it's the great father sky and Mother Earth, right? And then they produce the Hayoka, a high priest, high chief. Right? So the story is the same. It's just played out differently in different cultures to suit the underlying genetic memory of the people local to the area. Right? So when they tell us these stories, our genetic memories say this is the truth, even if it's scrambled up. Your genes, your DNA program will unscramble the story subconsciously. So you have to be able to read your own subconscious mind in order to bring the truth of the matter to conscious awareness. They tell you not to do introspection because the idle mind is the devil's workshop. But who is the devil? Devil means enemy, adversary, opponent. So if it's you versus you, that's the best place to be, in your head. But you always hear people say, get out your head. You all thinking too much. There's no such thing as thinking too much, because how do you learn how to think? By thinking. By examining your thought process, you learn how to think. They took critical thinking and practical problem solving that was hardwired into all of our education out of the educational curriculum. So now there's no critical thinking, practical problem solving. You have to ask for that separately. You have to enroll your child into K through 12 critical thinking, practical problem solving, and they're going to try to tell us it don't exist. But you can go to Amazon, type in critical thinking K through 12, and the whole books will come up.
Oh, wow.
But it don't exist. Those classes are only privy to the people in the higher economic echelon based off the 3-tier German school philosophy. Richelin, Volschulin, academia. Real school, false school, and academia. Academia is where the ones that they want to rule is taught. Real schooling is the ones that they want to mediate and govern over the rest of the masses. That's where they taught. And Volschulin is where everybody else is taught, which sounds like false schooling, which is artificial education.
Wow. So from a standpoint of, do you think that the paradigm of so-called education as we've known it up until we got to the COVID time of COVID, where, you know, many parents, you know, children were home for what, a year or so, I felt like there was a shift in that paradigm. I mean, anybody trying to say start a school or whatever and keep it in a certain, and I'm not talking about anybody, but in particular, but I feel like, you know, sending your children to school now is probably been exposed as not as advantageous to their knowledge base as we thought it was. I mean, it's the steps you have to take in order to get these certifications and degrees, but does it really give the child the erudition that they need? I mean, it was when we were doing home economics and what do you call it, carpentry and auto mechanics. I'm not no things, but things like that, where children could come out of school, you know, hair, you know, beautician. They could come out of school and be, if they wanted, they could go into some type of a job if they wanted to. But now they get a whole bunch of gender twisting, bending. They get a lot of things. I forgot what they're calling that thing, but they're getting a lot of stuff that's basically about a bunch of propaganda.
It's all social engineering.
Well, yeah, and it's not preparing them, and so they still feel like they have to go somewhere for higher education. And my question is it really higher education, or is it just a way to get more of the siphon the finances out of the people and still never give them anything, no value for the, what they put into it? Because at the end of it, what do they come out with? A large, a bill that they can never pay off. And more than likely, they might end up working in, a fast food restaurant than they will in the profession of which they call themselves being trained or at a higher level. So do you see that ending? Do you see that there being a paradigm shift in the so-called education to an erudition type situation that the matriarchy will put together that's maybe patterned after something that used to be?
Yeah, the whole educational system is going to be revamped. Most of their systems is going to be to benefit the collective as opposed to the elites at the top. Mm-hmm. That's going back to the tribal ways. The way that they educate now, they don't educate you. What they do is indoctrinate you. It's a difference. The indoctrination effects can be shown in modern education with the conditions of how they're teaching the children and what's the focus: sex. Not just sex, the most perverse and corrupt sex.
Absolutely.
Right? Gender confusion is part of the new curriculum. So when we talk about a gay agenda, it was a group of homosexual priests in the 60s that hired a group of retired generals to tell them how they had to write them a report and tell them how to make homosexuality acceptable to the mainstream. And then they came out and began to finance that, The same way they financed them generals to do the research, they begin to pay off corporations to incorporate the curriculum and indoctrinate the children because they don't worry about the adults. If they can control the children, they got you for another generation. COVID exposed the fraud in the educational system when parents was forced to have to homeschool. And it wasn't as difficult as they thought it was going to be, and their children was happier. And a lot of them said, we're not sending our baby back to that because they're miserable. They know subconsciously that they're being programmed to do something that's contrary to their nature. And so they hate school. Some of them hate it to their own detriment and commit suicide because of it. But we don't want to address those issues. What's wrong with the educational system that's sending my child to school and making him jump off a bridge? We don't want to talk about it because then we be held accountable for sending our children who can't function in a Skinner box given directions by a Pavlovian response system bell. This is all social engineering because when they created modern education, they said the agenda is to create a nation of workers.
Right. That's true.
If you was a critical thinker and a practical problem solver, you don't have to work. You can create your own business from almost anything.
That's true.
Anything around you it can be used to survive. And a lot of people don't understand that. That's called living off the fat of the land. Go back to Fred Sanford. What was his source of income? He sold junk.
Junk. Junk. That's right.
Some of the junk dealers from over here where I'm at, they leave the junkyard in a pickup truck, go home, take a shower, get dressed, and get in a Mercedes and go to the uptown community where they fit right in. But during the work hours, you can't tell they not bums.
That's true. And I think that most of what we have or what we need exist. It's just that they've introduced the fiat system as a way of I guess it's not even a barter, but forcing one into a level of servitude in order to get basic things that everyone should have a right to. You know what I mean? When you talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness or whatever. So we're talking about even the basic of basics that a lot of people are living without because they've had this fiat system that they've created with this false, with this monopoly, so-called money, and people are scrambling trying to make it.
I call them prison tokens.
Well, okay, all right.
It's the same way as it's the same as tokens in prison. You can't spend them nowhere in the world. You can't leave the prison. You can't leave the prison with $1 million in prison tokens and get a dime.
Wow, that's true, and that's what we're that's what we're headed towards anyway. With the with the end of the fiat system, but we realize that it's not just the U.S. dollar, if you will, the U.S. fiat, but it's anything that's connected. Anybody else who has fiat, that's all affected. So that's why I think it's probably taking some time for some of these things to, when people have been waiting for the transition, it's going to happen. But I don't think it's going to happen as easily as we think, because it's not just, we're talking about the what is it? What do they call it? In Europe, they use a euro. We have the whatever, the USD. You've got the different currencies. The paper currencies are all fiats.
Yeah. So we go into a crypto system, electronic banking system, but the bank notes will be based on asset. That means if you have a $10 gold note, you will be able to redeem it for $10 in gold once again.
Okay.
Cash and carry, ain't no credit. You either can buy it or you can't.
Right.
Debt equals slavery.
True.
We know that they use the system of debt to enslave the people.
Right. Listen,
Right.
I'm gonna stop us for a minute. You know, we need to let those who just can't come in know what's going on. We are actually we started this first 45 minutes or so on YouTube and Facebook because we wanted you all to. We didn't have a real way to get you on our unfiltered channel, so we have a link in the description box. I want y'all to hear me good. We're going to end this part of the broadcast. There is a link in the description box, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube. It says you must use this link to access the unfiltered version. We're going to be ending this portion in just a few minutes. And what we want you to do is to click back in on the link. You're basically going to see the same thing that you see, but what the difference is that we will not be on Facebook. We will not be on YouTube. If you want to share that link with anyone, please share it. They can get on. There's no registration required, but you do have to click the link to enter in. We have space for 10,000 folks. So you can tell everybody if you want, but we want to come back on and be a lot less guarded about what we say. At least Chief will be able to say, because we've talked about some things that we know will probably be a bit controversial, might kind of raise the ire, if you will, of the internet gods, and we just want to be able to be open and honest. So there's like 800 and so of you all right now. We can see, I can see now. I went down and said so between Facebook and YouTube. If you go back, if you click off, go to the description of this show, the link is there. You click on, and we're going to be coming back on in just a few minutes. At 8:30 is when the broadcast will begin over there. As a matter of fact, as soon as we log off, Chief, we can actually log in and be over there, and then start letting people. And we don't have to let you in. Once you click, you're in. But we want you to know that the venue, so to speak, is changing, but the conversation is going to be continuing, but at another level. And so please bear with us. Over where? Okay, over where? Click the link that's in the description. If you're on YouTube, just click, when you look at YouTube, you see where you can click on more for description. And when you look down there, it tells you what's on tonight. And it also says you must click on this link. There's a hot link there. Facebook, there's a hot link there. Click that link, and it's going to bring you over to our private, what we call unfiltered channel, which means it's not on YouTube and it's not on Facebook. That's all. Other than that, nothing changes. You'll be able to hear and you'll be able to chat and so forth, but you just will not be on YouTube or Facebook. If you want
to try to get that feminine energy harnessed to facilitate, say, cross-dressing positions. So they use your energy against you, and you don't know you surrendering it to them. Okay. It's like putting the dummy queen in the beehive, and they don't know that the dummy queen is the dummy queen. Then one day they figure it out. Then they all try to sting her ass.
So how did this role reversal, if you would say, start in this cycle of time, or what we know as time in this cycle?
If you look at the way things are, systems is how people govern themselves and others. These systems, the oldest ones that was functional with no war was matriarchy. The system of matriarchy was operated different than patriarchal domination rule. It was to bring the best out of every individual for the betterment of the collective, whereas patriarchy try to exalt one individual at the expense of all the rest of them. I don't care how good Michael Jordan was, he couldn't have won without the rest of his team being good enough to support him. Ain't no I in team.
That's right.
Right. So a team sport exalt a star player instead of understanding, like the Pistons blue collar work ethic incorporated the defense as the anchor, which means everybody is the same amount of important now, right? And they won championships with that. They changed the ideology and they fell apart.
Exactly.
As soon as they started making stars out of one player.
So explain the process of basically how how did the system get usurped? Like how did it get switched out? How did we go from
It was
matriarch? Okay.
so this was what Cleopatra's fight was. In the last dynasty that fought against the Roman Empire. The fall of Cleopatra is your Jesus story, right? But they don't tell you that Jesus is Isis and Cleopatra was the seated Isis of the day. Because that solves a whole lot of the historical anomaly. She was fighting patriarchs from Rome. But this is the continuation of a Babylonian assault on the world using sin magic. That's why they call everybody sinners in the Christian church. And the sin is the blood rites and the child sacrifice rituals that's being done behind the scenes, and you are reinforcing it in the forefront by turning a blind eye to it. You're changing the energy. They're using these pedophile priest cults um, to subjugate the people by ruining the children. They know exactly who to scar, how to scar them, and why they scarring them that way. Some of them, they just beat them into submission. They want to inflict what's called learned helplessness on them. So they can't defend themselves now because they so beat down, they broken. They just lay there and take it, right? So what takes place in Egypt was the transferring and the fighting for power that began in Greece under Alexander the Great. They were following information brought to them from the Ottoman Empire through Macedonians. So when you start looking at how they was moving across the land in history books, it's clear as day the same people was controlling everything that's been controlling it, where they at, why they hiding there, and why ain't nobody going in there to get them. Right? Now, that had to be done by the Earth Alliance. The Earth Alliance was responsible to locating all of them and weeding them out like the root to a pimple. Then once Earth go back to balance, women wanted men so that the men can be masculine and the women can be her highest degree of feminine. Because the masculine protects that energy with his life. Because that's how he has the experience called heaven on Earth in this life, not the next one, not after you die, not after you get done suffering unnecessary suffering. Once you realize what's going on, the men become more masculine when they realize that the only reason they here is so the women can be feminine. They wanted to be in a feminine energy. This is called ceremonial high magic. By walking in the spirit of life, you performing a ritual with your sisters. And all of the men go to a euphoria, right? And the euphoria makes the man stand up to a different level. So when they see the men doing the work and they know, they say, oh, I can rest now. They know the chief they've been waiting on because they say to themselves, I've been waiting on this one. He ain't like the rest.
Right. So the word out here on these spiritual streets, okay, that the women were here first before the creation of man. So can you go into
That's been
perspective?
proven through fossil records, through genetics. The Y chromosome is the X with an atrophied appendage, meaning it's lost a sizable portion of its genetic stock. The mitochondrial regulates the energy to the Y chromosome, or else we wouldn't be no men. Because he has to get it from his mother. The higher your spiritual rank, the stronger your mother's mitochondrial responsibility. Then you become the beekeeper, the king bee, protecting the hive from all of these rogue hornets, masquerading to be king bees, and all the time they queen bees, drag queen bees, that is, pedophile priest cults, masquerading as righteous men while they defile children behind the pulpit in the name of their Jesus Christ and Lord and Savior. In order to scorn the name of ISIS, they change it to J. And this is why they say, I'll make you fisher of men. When I turn this I into a J, will you figure it out?
Okay. So these men in these skirts, honey, where they had come from? Like, what culture is this? What part in history is this where these men
The
in these
war effort, it's a war effort by the priests of the god Ninnersin. By them practicing the money magic rituals of Ninnersin and having us follow along with the Babylonian sex magic of Ninnersin and the Babylonian money magic where we surrender all our power to somebody else to hold our money on our behalf. Right? These are spells of government. So you look at it like the bees that learn how to control the pheromones can control the hive. Right? So if the bee that's changing the frequency, that's going to cause the interruption in the pheromone balance as is told to the next generation of bees. It's the same with the mitochondrial scanning the Y chromosome. This is why Elijah Muhammad say the prayer of the nation is answered through the womb of the women. Right? And that's why you watch what you say while you pregnant, because you calling forth either the scourge of earth or the saviors of mankind. But that's up to the mothers to decide how they want to produce for the future. Because the mitochondrial adjusts. It's the energy source. And all energy ties directly back to source. Source energy. Women control it, men inherit it. We become the defenders of the ones who carry the birthright of the earth rights. That's the ones who hold the power over the frequencies of mitochondria. When we realize that, it changes the interaction of everybody on the planet because it becomes more harmonious between the sexes. And that in and of itself, a woman feel like she being flirted with even when ain't nobody else around and she start to blush because she walking in that energy that would make anybody want to flirt.
Okay. 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 Wow. Okay. So this Babylonian energy, who and what is Babylonian? Let's go there.
This is the biblical source of all evil on earth.
Mm.
They tell you that in the Bible. In the book of Daniel, it would tell you all of the Babylonian empires. The biblical scholars say that the feet of iron and clay is America, right? So now you got to go across stories in Priest Temple, if you know the story of the Bible well enough, you can match it up with the other priest stories in order to access information. Right? The Babylonian government ranking system that they had, they say we had iron and clay. Well, who done that's hewn from the mountain without the hands of man, but by the power of God? The stone that no workman has touched, right? Who was sealed in the mountain? Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, right? The stories say he was sealed in the mountain for 5,000 years. And then some chick come along and set him free. That means the heart is the key. The monkey key is the Congo key, because the Congo key is the primate key. And the primate is the perfect mate. That's the man that all of the women want, because all of the women want the man that all the other women want. It's the law of nature. They can talk that smack, but they all gonna look at the same direction when the right frequency of the man that they think all the other women in their environment want. Now he become the catch. That's how you create a hierarchy in the community. It's the law of nature acting itself out in the civilized society. So now he driving around in a Cadillac with three-piece suits on in the summertime.
That's it. That's it.
Wearing all the diamonds and gold that he could find in the local jewelry store.
Okay. Yeah, the pawn shop,
With his exotic Canadian perfume Dior cologne for men.
That's it.
Right?
So, yeah. So this Rome, because this has been going on for a long time. So how initially did they get into power?
Through warfare and infiltration of royal families by inserting children in the place of princes at birth. All the time, they're the bloodline of somebody else. They do it in America now. They kidnap baby chiefs in the hospital and switch them out with somebody that's not like us, and have us raising a child. We can't figure out what his damn problem is. He don't act like nobody in my family. Where they find this SOB? This can't be my child, or they wouldn't act this way. That's not even the energy of his daddy's side of the family. They've been switching babies out the whole time, and they've been telling us they've been switching babies out the whole time. This is why Child Protective Services is the instrumental element of the separation of children from families, in order to put the wrong children with families that don't match their frequency, in order to corrupt the people of the land on purpose. So now we go through what's called the cleansing period, where the ones who understand how to balance the frequency of all tribes, you can only use one frequency, and that's the love frequency. And if you follow the love frequency, then you activate the love energy in the others. And once that energy is activated, you can't trap love in a box. It don't fit. And the people that walk in the power of that energy becomes unstoppable, because now you're starting to tap in to what's called your esoteric self information. Your knowledge of self from your higher self to yourself that no book can tell you about yourself. And then you begin to realize you're reading your personal book of life. So now you understand that the only person knew you well enough for you to live the life you live, to become the person you are today, the one you're most proud of, is you. You the author of your story, and you made it fit in so easily with the stories of others. And the better you is in weaving your story, the higher you move among the rank and the spirit. Until you can't be denied, and your love light shine and it lights up the world in the form of arts and entertainment.
Mm. I just got lost in your words. Okay. Wow. So this is deep. Okay. So, especially in our culture, I hate to say this, well, I dislike to say that many cannot wrap their heads around magic, right? Okay.
If they
So,
can't wrap their head around magic, they don't understand prayer.
or cooking. I
Principle,
think
prin- that's alchemy. Cooking is alchemy. Prayer is magic if you expect it to come to reality. The same energy that you put forth the effort in prayer is the same energy you put forth in the effort to manifest. Like magic, out of nothing, you brought something into existence.
that's
But you weaved it in with the elements of three-dimensional reality so well, using the observer effect, everything just so-called fell into place. And it made it easier for you to walk your path.
right. So, in listening to what you're saying, basically, through religion, right? Many have been told to stay away from magic. It's demonic, it's this and that. When the truth of the matter is, what it sounds like is that they don't want us being knowledgeable about magic because that's the very thing that they're using against us.
Our ignorance of the way magic is applied and how it works is 100% why they was torturing us. So that's why I kind of tell them where they use the magic at, how it worked to oppress us. And once our people understood what happened, that shit don't work on them no more. Their spiritual warrior system kicks in to block that BS out of their life. And this is how you be overthrowing the other system in real time. Right? So the energy is moving as the matriarchal juggernaut is reforming. A collective of clan mothers across the land who had the first right to the earth right, because the mitochondrial of the mother is in the elements that's in the earth. And this is why they say man was formed from the dust of the ground. Man wasn't formed from the dust of the ground. He was formed from the woman who emerged as if from the dust of the ground. She came up like trees in the body of flesh. But so we can conceal her power, we hijack the mate, right? We send in slimy sluts to infiltrate the sisterhood of the priestesses that's keeping this love in is undefeatable. Realize the purpose of their existence and they walk in it. The dynamic shifts on the dime as a massive paradigm shift. Our people is hard to learn the ways of a lesser frequency. So it make it look like we retarded because it's children's information being forced in an adult manner to us. And it doesn't make sense. It's like a parody. So we begin to reject it, but we don't know why we're rejecting it. So we force ourselves to go along in order to get along. And then you run into people like me.
The great decoder, right?
They knew I was going to be a problem when they saw me coming. They just didn't know how bad it was going to be.
That
And
part.
in the immortal words of Genghis Khan, if they had not been guilty of terrible sins, God would not have sent them a plague such as me.
That's it. So now fast forward, right? Because the people are waking up. Okay.
Yep.
We have your information, which I just am so thankful. There's so many of us that are so thankful for your walk and your spread of information because it is catching on like wildfire. Okay. People, even people who believe in, operate in this system that we call the government, light bulbs are going off. Like, that do make sense. What he's saying makes sense, right? So now moving forward in this time, right? Because as we're clear that spells, right, magic has been used to keep us sleeping in a slumber, going against our intuition for many of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how, from your perspective, is it that we start to deprogram to reprogram ourselves?
It has been an ongoing effort. So if you look, we've built organizations within this government that has risen and failed since they've been here. So it's not can we build on our own has never been the issue. The problem was that if we stayed under our own vine and fig tree and let the government, they would have been stuck in one geographical location to the east of the Appalachian Mountains. They would have never crossed the mountains. But they took our kindness for weakness and exploited the chiefs, and then they told us a history that was not contrary to what was really taking place on the land, but the way that our ancestors left the history in both oral and written tradition, it comes down as old legends that helps us decode the history that they was telling us. And then we go back to find that when they came, they had a different history from us than they gave us after the civil rights movement. When they came, we was the organic people of the land that had always been here. And they described us the same as we look today. Remember, most of the tribes did not sign treaties. You only hear about the 5 civilized tribes. There was other tribes that made treaties, but the majority of tribes never made treaties with the corporation called the United States of America. And they classified us as outlaw tribes. They classified us and was declared belligerent enemy dependent nations. This is how they referred to us in their laws. And they declared that we couldn't read their laws, therefore we was incompetent to regulate our own affairs. So they came up with this fairy tale about the Plymouth, and this is why Malcolm said we didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us because they used their standards to take us into a litigation with the Vatican, who was supposed to be the highest authority on the planet. He told them under the discovery doctrine to exploit the people of the land and that he would enforce their lien on the land. The lien on the land marks the crash of the crash site of the Plymouth that they told us in history was called the Mayflower. They changed the name of it in our face to bring our attention to what it was. So the Mayflower originally called the Plymouth, and they left a rock to commemorate the crash site. And until Donald Trump ran that ship out of the bay, they had to maintain the ship under the laws of admiralty and maritime in that bay in order to collect the duty, which came in the form of batch rolls of birth certificates, which are investment bonds for the corporation that's salvaging the Black people from the waters. The Black people are the ones that was fighting the war ever since they came. They classified them by legalese as the ones they attack, as the chessboard shows you the game. And told you the whole time the Moors' favorite game was chess. So the chess left us at a stalemate that brought us to fight a conjure war in order to stop the physical war. But they started to cheat and violate the rules and turn us against each other so that they can exempt themselves from responsibility. And they was laughing at us the whole time, talking about kill Whitey, nigga, kill Whitey. And he white. It's a David Copperfield trick that was played on us.
Wow.
Well, once you see it, you can't unsee it. All the evidence is there in the public. Point it out. And I done been posting it for 5 years, proving the point.
Your patience, honey. Patience, patience, patience. Wow. So, you know, in these spiritual streets, they be saying, so above, so below, so within, so without.
Mm-hmm.
So, from any, because you're like a walking encyclopedia, you know what I'm saying? Spiritually and, you know, in this earth realm, all that. So, I just want to pick your brain just a little bit, see what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
They used to
So,
call me Dr. Rod to walk in university when I was locked up.
man, that's it. That's all. When I first heard you speak, I was like, he did Akashic records, encyclopedias, the computer. Like, what? What? So, galactically, so above, so below, so within, so without. Galactically, what from your perception, from what you know, is going on? Because if we got
This is this is a 3D holographic simulator for the gods of the universe to reduce themselves to a lesser state in order to experience being from in a lesser energy. The experience is the same as somebody putting on goggles playing Fortnite. The only that we using the body as the avatar to roam, and we projecting our psyche into the avatar from a remote location somewhere else. This is the stars in the sky that represents the people. Is why you have zodiac signs that tell you what sector of the world you're looking at the world from, because the energy you came on was on this channel. And this is how astrology charts match with your life for you to be able to navigate. But they don't want you to know that, so they tell you that it's some what they call pseudoscience folklore. And astrology is an ancient temple, so why is it there if it's just some folklore? It's just and why do it accurately map the stars as astrology that you say is a legitimate science? The ephemeris is needed in the science to tell them where the location of the stars at. But you use it to read an astrological chart. You don't know you calculating the energy frequency network.
Mm.
And if you know how the energy work in the movement of people, you can see the pattern, and then you will be able to read it as it happened instead of after the fact. You got to look back on it, but you can see it coming now.
Deep.
That's
So,
the great paradigm shift.
right. So we're gods projecting ourselves here to play this little game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, how does one tap in to get to know that greater part of themselves that's projecting itself here?
Okay, this is the coldest piece of information I can give you. When you in the dark and you close your eyes, you are in the center of creation as prime creator. Create. See what you want your life to be. But sometimes the mind gonna exaggerate it one way or the other. But you're gonna get exactly what you design. You just changing the way your book of life is already written. At that point, you're using free will instead of the predestined path that you wrote before you came in. You always have the right in the game to assume control of the avatar and use the power of will to move the avatar where its ego would never move it if it freezes it in place, starts to jam because the information is confusing. The higher self is not confused because it has holographic memory. The avatar's memory operates almost like a movie reel in sequence.
So is that
But
what
the
we're,
holographic
go ahead.
the holographic mind of the God form can see it from beginning to end and sometimes beyond the beginning of this one into past lives because it follows the energy. The holographic memory, you see everything in multiple dimensional layouts in order to triangulate in on a source of information that you left off. It's like going back to get the coins in the game. But you got to go to the dark side of the board.
That part.
The dark side of the board is the dark place in the home where you most comfortable, right? In the darkness, in the place that you most comfortable, you can most easily look at your life and review it and say, I need to correct this, I need to correct that. I still feel some kind of way about this. I need to work this out. And then the shadow work that people scared of because it brings back emotional traumas to the forefront that they've been suppressing, that's been making a personality icky to be around. So now when they started to release it, because they're seeing it from their God form, they start laughing and say the only person that know me well enough to write this script had to be me.
Had to be. And then you begin to understand why they say God don't put nothing on you that you can't handle.
Mm-hmm. Now remember, the goal is to understand some stuff called human emotion,
Mm,
because the human emotion is the navigation system on the pilot's dashboard with all them knobs and dials and stuff that telling you where you going, where you been, how you make a turn, when to stay straight, how to lift the rudder. All that stuff is on the dashboard called emotions. The only way you can learn to use them to your advantage is to first make sure they're always in context. Now you can adjust. You can look at the system holistically, which is going to project the imagery holographically to activate your higher senses to oversee the view. Now you understand the information by using the information to set your soul free.
So what does that mean to set our soul free? What does that mean?
That means to come to the realization of who you are as your higher self and what it means to be in the physical body. This is a training simulation to learn how to compile energies one to another by using the system of opposites, right? But then the bad kids figured out that the system of opposites can be used to control all the kids in the school, and the dean was gone. When the dean got back, the school was out of order. So somebody had to put the new world in order. The only way to put the new world in order is to solve problems that exist within the realms of the people. And this is how you up your rank in the game, by upping more solutions that's functional in further and further reaches of the planet. And once you got sufficient working solutions for the collective of the whole, now you can put all of the pieces together so everybody can eat.
I mean, do you think that people can really wrap their minds around?
No, it's designed that way though. The game is designed to trap you in your lower frequency so you can fight your way out of it. And then when it's time to wake up and reset the game, then people got to come along with information that shocks back to reality. Back to life, back to reality, back to the here and now. So so it snaps you out of, by telling you and exposing you to how the conjure works, breaks your mind free. Because once your mind understands how it works, you can't act like you don't know now. So now your mind have to tell you how to be free in the face of the oppression that they was trying to hold you under.
Right.
And then you light up. You light up. That's your inner light being set free. And that's the raising of the frequency.
So as we rise this frequency, because I mean, I noticed we noticed beforehand, right? You know, especially in our community when people had mental challenges or what we would call like schizophrenia or things of that nature, you know, it was kind of just kept and swept under the rug, right? And so now this is like more out in the open, and it is treated medically, right? And in our culture, historically, as the people of the land, we didn't have all this.
We had people who would wake up to the reality of the simulation, and they need help assimilating the spirit realm to the physical realm, because they walking in two worlds, fully waking to both of them. Some of them can't sleep for months at a time or years because they are fully awake. I mean, that the frequency of energy that the mitochondria are putting out into the cells is allowing a 3D being to walk in fourth and fifth dimensional matrix simultaneously. So all of that energy is being refined efficiently in that individual. But because the conscious mind is conditioned that the body needs sleep to repair itself, now you told your conscious mind not to let the body repair itself. So it begins to break the vessel down. This is like saying turning off the X-Men superpower. And now they just regular people. But as soon as they realize what's going on, they X gene activate. Right? Because you can't hold the divine light oppressed forever. And if the right frequency crosses your heart chakra and sets you free.
So the best thing we can do for those of us that are not trained in this spiritual arena to help these individuals navigate through that is to just send them love like we do everything else. Pure divine love.
One of our most powerful conjure is being happy and singing and dancing. All love languages is active powers to harness for magic in the name of love. If it's done from a righteous perspective, you wield powerful spiritual tools that chops down almost all wickedness. You just look at the things that we naturally do everywhere we are. We are everywhere we at, we barbecue, and that's not new. We've been doing that for thousands of years, and they're trying to make it look like we just figured out how to barbecue yesterday in the 1800s.
That part.
They want us to believe we was running around savage on the land, but we got ancient castles everywhere we look. Some of them they turned into prisons, some they turned into states building. But them was our castles long before 1492. So who was savage? Right? And because if our women wanted to walk around butt booty ass naked, it wasn't a problem. They wasn't gonna get raped. And you come from a culture where rape is the standard. They come from the club or on the head, drag her in the cave. That's not our MO. That's not our people. That's not our history over here. Marriage is for political moves. It's to tie families together by blood right in their face without them knowing what's taking place. This is why they want everybody to go give up some DNA. Ain't got nothing to do. The test is just for entertainment, and they tell you that right on the package. So anything that's for entertainment can be altered to match the entertaining thing that they're trying to use to entertain you. Once you realize that, then you know they're using your DNA for something else because they know who we are. They ain't never stopped watching us and following us from generation to generation because they know what families and bloodlines they got to try to murder off because they know where the chief's going to come at. But they not smarter than Mother Nature. She know how to shuffle us around on the land and make one chief that would have born somewhere else be born over here instead. And then he be born here and then he go over there and you don't know he gonna come up and be the boss over there where he at. Big Mama Cindy.
That's it.
All over the